Paul Smith, Max Maxwell, Roland Hamilton and Isidore Freeling were among the animators of the brand new Bosco series by the Harman and Ising duo. Starting with its theatrical debut Sinking in the Bathtub, released on April 19, 1930, which also introduces Bosco's girlfriend, Honey. Really? Honey? Anyway, the main goal of the Warner Brothers filmography Dissection would normally be analyzing one or two shorts at a time. However, in this early instance, I'm tackling every single one of these at once. Why? Because they are interchangeable. Seriously, they all look the same and share the exact same issues. They may have different settings, but the pattern is basically just one. Bosco dancing and creating music with the environment surrounding him. There is no other attraction. Sometimes a decent visual gag might pop up here and there, like the running joke of Bosco pulling music instruments out of his pants, which is kinda funny for how shady the scene is, or Bosco tuning the horse's tail in the Booze Hangs High, but without a proper story, the resulting being directionless gag for their own sake. On top of that, Bosco and Honey are blatantly inspired by Mickey and Minnie. I mean, they are meant to be the Kansas duo's counterparts of the Disney couple. Honey seems to follow the specific female character pattern of the 30s. Since she's supposed to look different from Bosco, she wears a bow, a skirt and lace underwear underneath. More or less like Minnie. Yet something is off about them. Even though the early Mickey Mouse shorts don't leave me a positive impression, Steamboat Willie aside, they certainly had a charm within, as if they were aware of making history through their progression. They were quite unique for the time. As a result, the fact Bosco and Honey are their brazen copycats sort of make them feel more unoriginal and obsolete than charming. Boxcar Blues may be considered a mere attempt of an action segment, but Frank Marsalis' score still sounds too soft and bland for it to express some more intensity. Then again, this climax is only for the sake of more musical numbers. I do realize the primordial purpose of Looney Tunes was making music the protagonist, but if the gags showcase weak punchlines and the pacing is so sluggish, it's not a surprise to observe such underwhelming results. Unfortunately, 1931 Bosco is likewise bland and uninteresting, even though shorts like Big Man from the North and Ups and Downs attempt to sketch an actual plot. Too bad said plot literally vanishes once a musical number begins. Take Big Man for example. The main plot with Bosco hunting down a bandit is replaced by Honey's dance in the middle section, which has nothing, I mean literally nothing to do with the short itself. You could remove it and the story would flow regardless. Or Ain't Nature Grand, whose lack of a cohesive story makes the whole thing even patchier than it already is. First, Bosco goes fishing, then he chases a butterfly and gets bumped by dragonflies piloting a bigger insect. It's all over the place, which would normally be a good thing for Looney Tunes, but this isn't the Looney Tunes we all know yet. It just feels totally random because the show hasn't found its identity yet. Or The Tree's Knees, the last cartoon directed by Harman and Ising as a duo, which has a rather feeble plot with Bosco eager to chop down some trees and a poop fake-out gag, but at some point the short deliberately forgets its plot, as it has the standard stock dancing maneuver start once again, acting as if they weren't using any animation whatsoever. In the meantime, Warner was producing a parallel series, Spoony Melodies, which was essentially bland music videos. Of course, given its flop and the decent feedback of the Looney Tunes series, Schlesinger felt he had to ride the Looney wave. Thus, he came up with the idea of creating its canon sister, named Merrie Melodies, whose shorts were directed by Ising alone, whereas Harman stuck to Looney Tunes. 1931 would mark the distinction of Looney Tunes and Merrie Melodies, exhibiting their early differences, as Harman would still place his bet on Bosco, while Ising would feature brand new characters in his Merrie series, such as Foxy and Roxy, blatant Mickey and Minnie ripoffs disguised as foxes, and Piggy wearing Mickey's shorts. Unfortunately, these shorts sound as banal as they're described, because they're just disjointed models filled with the same stock 30esque entertainment, like random objects moving, including buildings, and the never-ending music numbers which are essentially the plot. Once again, these cartoons are perfectly interchangeable, as the new characters appear as lifeless and uninspired tokens, and all they do is singing and dancing without providing any quirks whatsoever. Simultaneously, the Bosco series is following an unstable route, because it may be slightly less frustrating than Ising's series, but is definitely still providing some rocky performances. While it seems to be detaching from music numbers in favor of slapstick comedy, as seen in Bosco's The Doll Boy, a surprisingly okay short, and starts experimenting unique perspective as viewed in Bosco Shipwrecked. At the same time, the fact it has the urge to recycle previous situations, and most of all, to mimic Disney at all cost, sure diminishes any attempt to provide a positive output. This exactly sums up my thoughts on the Warner series in these early years. They are so derivative they lack a precise identity. They're being so stubborn to create their own Mickey Mouse, each one of their attempts manages to be a mere carbon copy. Next time there's going to be a new director in town.